Now, this point about the fact that, we have a change in administration in the United States, let's take a deep breath and look at this for a minute. It was Hillary Clinton who said in 2009 that merely the rise of China, by definition, makes it an adversary. I want you to really breathe in her line. The rise of China, by definition, makes it an adversary. This goes back to Dick Cheney's stuff in the Defense Policy Group Part B during the Bush administration #1, when they talked about US hegemony must be permanent. This goes back to the project of the American century, which once again came out with this idea that American primacy and exceptional leadership of the world has to be permanent. By definition, Hillary Clinton says, by definition, makes China an adversary. Just its rise in science and tech, guys. I want you to pay attention to this. It was Obama who in 2012 initiates the pivot to Asia. It was Obama. That pivot to Asia was a big military buildup around China. Obama miscalculated because he decided to go after both China and Russia at the same time, which is what has brought China and Russia together. Their economic relations have increased, their military and security relations have increased. Just a few weeks ago, Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, was asked, would you sign a military treaty with China? And his answer is very illustrative. He said it's not necessary. He said, we don't need a military treaty with China. We don't need it. But if it becomes necessary, we'll do it. But we don't need it. We don't need it because they have, on the one side, in 2008, settled their border dispute. And secondly, their relations are so close now, they don't actually need to sign a treaty. If we do, he said, we could. The United States miscalculated in 2012, and it's paying for that miscalculation because Eurasian unity is very strong, both militarily across Northern Asia with China and Russia, and then in Southern Asia through the Belt and Road Initiative. It's very strong. The United States has miscalculated, which is why Trump expanded this war on China by moving in the direction of a direct frontal trade war. The United States walked out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership in order to, which was designed by Obama to damage China's relations, economic relations with the region. Remember I said the United States has miscalculated because just recently China signed the RCEP treaty, which brought 30% of the world's people into a free trade area, which includes most of Asia, including New Zealand and Australia and Japan. This is very important because this is the Five Eyes intelligence network. It's also the Quad. It's the military strategic partnership between India, Japan, Australia, and the United States. It's a military treaty to basically squeeze China. All of this is done by the United States, not by China. That's why we are saying the United States is imposing a war on China. China doesn't want a war. Fu Ying's editorial makes this very clear, but so does Xi Jinping's statements, the president of China. He said on many occasions, we don't want a war. We don't want a conflict. You are imposing a conflict on us. Friends, I want you to think about something, about language. We talk about the Vietnam War. There was no Vietnam War. There was a US war imposed on Vietnam. We talk about an Iraq war. There was no Iraq war. There was no war happening in Iraq that the United States happened to stumble upon. That's what the language sort of leads you to believe. It was a US illegal war pushed by George W. Bush and people like Joe Biden against the population of Iraq. There is no Israel-Palestine conflict, friends. There is no Israel-Palestine. That makes it seem like it's parity between two parties. There is the occupation of the Palestinian people by the Israeli government. There is no Korean war. There is no China war. Be careful of the language. There is no US-China conflict. There is no US-China conflict. There is only a US conflict which it is imposing on China. The Chinese people don't want this conflict. The Chinese government doesn't want this conflict. Currently, the US government and the elites want a conflict with China. I very much beg the people of the United States of America, on this, break with your government. You must come out publicly. You must come out vocally. You must write in your local newspapers. You must call people who represent you in Congress. The people of the United States of America must break with their elites on this conflict. It is the most dangerous conflict of our time. So I am begging you, I don't do this often, I am begging you, don't sit and take this lightly. It is time for you to stand up and speak out. It is time for you not to allow your government to prosecute a war which is going to be a disaster for humanity. Thanks a lot.